After I lost access to my daughter's wedding, an amazing call from the groom's father revealed a heart-wrenching family secret. James stood in the cramped, grease-scented garage, a place where he poured every ounce of his heart after a painful divorce tore apart his family. Here, among the sound of clanking wrenches and the angry roar of engines, he found solace. But today, even fixing a rusted pickup felt laborious. An unshakable heaviness lodged in his chest as he thought of his daughter, Emily. Her wedding was only days away, and he was uninvited. Every tick of the clock screamed at him, mocking his failed attempts to bridge the vast chasm between them that had grown over the years. The warm, golden light of the setting sun filtered through the open garage door, illuminating memories of laughter shared and moments missed. There were days when Emily sat on the counter, her tiny feet dangling, watching him work with her wide-eyed fascination. Now, she was stepping into a new life, one without him. A neighbor swung by, excitement bubbling as they recounted tales of past family gatherings, laughter spilling forth like a sweet melody. James smiled, but inside, he was crushed, desperately wishing he could be part of such tales again. Just as despair settled deep within him, his phone rang. It was an unexpected call from David, Emily's future father-in-law. "James. Hey, it's David." His voice was warm but carried an underlying tension, a gentle reminder of the web of history that tied their families together. David spoke of time, of struggles, and of bonds two families shared long before the rift turned raw. The words held a power that pulsed through James, awakening echoes of shared hardship and resilience that could transcend bitterness. "Did you know," David said softly, "our grandfathers were friends? They fought side by side." James felt a tiny flicker of hope stir within him. Memories of those old stories came rushing back, tales of courage and loyalty, reminding him of the sinews that once bonded their families, a tangled vine now threatened with decay. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The weight of old wounds began to lift, replaced by a nascent courage. Could this call be the anchor he needed to pull him back toward Emily? The thought ignited a fire inside him. He could fight to reclaim his place in her life, to bridge the distance that felt impossibly vast. As the wedding day approached, fear of rejection swam through his veins, but so did the promise of redemption. Standing outside the elegant church, James felt the world around him come to a standstill. His heart thundered in his chest. What if Emily looks at him and turns away? But there was a flicker of a possibility, just a flicker, but enough to keep him standing. As the grand doors swung open, revealing a sea of familiar faces, he took a deep breath and stepped forward into a future that could still be rewritten. All eyes turned toward him, and in that moment, he hovered between hope and despair, questioning whether he'd find the strength to confront his past. Would he step forward, or retreat into loneliness? The answer awaited him inside. Discovery that could change everything. James felt the weight of every gaze upon him as he stood just inside the church, heart racing. The soft notes of a string quartet played in the background, but all he could hear was the thumping in his chest. Faces from his past flashed before him, old friends, distant relatives, every one of them a reminder of how far he'd fallen. Would they see him as the father who had lost his way, or as a man ready to reclaim his place in his daughter's life? He took a step forward, battling the knots in his stomach, and a familiar figure caught his eye. Emily stood at the altar, radiant and breathtaking in her white gown, her smile illuminating the entire space. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the chaos of the world around them faded to silence. There was a hesitation, a flicker of confusion that clouded her joy, but it was quickly replaced with a mix of surprise and concern. James ran his fingers through his hair, trying to find the words that had eluded him for so long. This was not just the moment of a wedding, it was the moment he had dreamed of, the moment he hoped would mend their fractured relationship. But could he truly fix what was broken? As Emily's gaze shifted away, he felt a rush of urgency. David's right, he thought, recalling their earlier conversation. Could the history of their families be the bridge that connected them once more? He cleared his throat, gathering every ounce of courage, and walked toward her, each step a battle fought against the fears of rejection. Meanwhile, whispers rippled through the crowd. Some gasps, soft murmurs of disbelief. What is he doing here? Someone shrugged, another shook their head. It didn't matter, only Emily mattered. Would she welcome him, or would she turn away like everyone else had done? Dad, her voice trembled slightly as he reached the front. The word felt fragile, yet powerful, a chisel striking at the stone wall that had formed between them. I know I messed up, he began, almost stumbling over his own words. But I want to be here for you, I want to be a part of your life again. Please give me a chance. For a moment, the world around them fell away. Emily's eyes glistened, reflecting a storm of conflicting emotions, a mix of hesitation, longing, and the remnants of hurt. Yet, through it all, James detected something akin to hope. James, she whispered, drawing nearer, sensing the sincerity in his voice. This is unexpected. And just as he was about to respond, the solemnity of the moment was shattered by the arrival of a familiar voice resonating from the back of the church. It was David, stepping forward with an unexpected urgency that caught everyone off guard. I think the two of you need to hear something, he announced, his tone intense yet compassionate, capturing the attention of all. James turned, the warmth in his chest growing. Perhaps this day held more than just a wedding, it could bring revelations that could reshape everything. What was he about to learn? What long-buried family secret awaited him? The air thickened with anticipation. The moment cracked open with possibility, leaving him on the edge of something monumental. Would this be the chance to heal not just with Emily, but with the past itself? Powerful truth. David's voice reverberated in the hushed church, slicing through the tension like a hot knife through butter. Everyone turned their eyes away from the altar, curiosity mixed with concern etched across familiar faces. The murmurs spread like wildfire, but for James, the noise faded into the background. It was just him and Emily, the rest of the world unimportant in that pivotal moment. David, what is it? Emily urged, inching closer to James as if to seek comfort. It's about your families, both of you, David replied, his expression unyielding. I know the history between us is complicated, but I've uncovered something that can change how we see everything. James felt his pulse quicken, his gut twisting with uncertainty. Could this reveal the connection he'd long suspected but never fully understood? The secrets of their families had always been an undercurrent in the current of their lives, yet he'd dismissed them as mere gossip. Just tell us. Please, Emily's voice was steady, but the anxiety in her eyes betrayed her. The congregation held its breath, the air thick with anticipation as David took a deep breath, his gaze shifting between the two of them. There's a reason why your families have been intertwined for generations, David began. And it's not just this wedding. I found some letters. He took a step forward, using the envelope in his hand to emphasize the weight of his words. Letters from our grandfathers, and they reveal a bond that runs deeper than you can imagine. James felt the floor shift beneath him. The gravity of the moment weighed down as if the entire building threatened to collapse around them. Questions flooded his mind. What had their grandfathers done? What bond could possibly bring them together now, after all these years? What do you mean? Emily pressed, her brow furrowed with urgency. David opened the envelope and began to pull out yellowed pages. These letters talk about forgiveness, about family loyalty, and about promises made long ago. Promises that got lost along the way. The room buzzed softly, but James could only focus on the words forming in David's voice. Another chance. Maybe this was the moment he was meant to have all along. Your fathers knew each other well, David continued, each syllable more impactful than the last. When they made a decision to part ways, they thought it was for the best. But now, looking back, I think they would have wanted healthier ties between our families. Suddenly, the tears that had been threatening to spill from Emily's eyes began to escape, and James could see the conflict waging inside her. Could this unearth something they both needed to hear? Did this make him worthy of her trust again? He reached out, placing his hand over hers, hoping to convey everything he meant without saying a word. David, Emily interrupted, her voice thick with emotion. You can't just drop this on us and leave. What does it mean? How does it connect us? David paused, taking a deep breath as the reality of his discovery dawned on him. It means there's a chance for you both to start again. It means healing. And it means there might be more family ties you didn't know about. Ties that could bring the both of you closer than you ever imagined. The room felt electric as the implications settled in. James's heart swelled with possibility. Could this be the bridge to reconnect with Emily and even others he had lost touch with? Maybe, just maybe, there was hope for a new beginning. What other truths lay buried behind those letters? What else could David reveal that would unravel the complicated tapestry of their family history? As the weight of revelations stirred excitement and fear, James took a breath. The moment of truth was fast approaching, one that could rewrite their futures. But would Emily see it as the same promise he did? Or would the shadows of their past keep them apart forever? Connection. David's voice hung in the air, heavy with unspoken histories and potential futures. Emily blinked away her tears, trying to mask the tumult of emotions swirling inside. James felt overwhelmed as he locked eyes with her. There was a flicker of hope, mixed with the fear that the past could easily snuff it out. Where are those letters now? Emily asked, pressing David for clarity, her tone urgent. Can we see them? James watched as David slowly handed her the fragile papers. I think it's time you both understood the full story. Emily unfolded the first page, her brow deeply furrowed. The congregation remained silent, each person caught in the web of this revelation, bracing themselves for whatever might come next. As Emily scanned the words, James could almost feel her heart rate quicken with each line she absorbed. What did they say? He whispered, not wanting to break the spell that had fallen over the room. They made a pact, James, she finally breathed, looking up as if struck by a thunderbolt. Our grandfathers. Her voice trailed off as she struggled to understand the implications. They wanted us to unite to forge a bond that would bring our families together. The word unite echoed in James's mind, resonating in ways he never expected. He thought about the walls that had grown between them over time, the misunderstandings and separations that felt insurmountable. Do you see? David interjected, excitement beginning to build in his voice. This isn't just history, it's a chance to heal. They wanted us to choose family over conflict. To be a part of something bigger. James's heart raced. Could they really step into that legacy? He glanced at Emily, who was still grappling with the weight of her family's past. Would she embrace this? Could this revelation open a path toward reconciliation? Maybe this is our chance, she said softly, her voice trembling. To break the cycle of pain. David nodded, cupping his hands together, as if holding the weight of the universe. Exactly. This is your opportunity, both of you, to rewrite the narrative. But it must start here. With you. Emily took a shaky breath, glancing at their collected friends and family around them. What if we bring everyone together? She suggested, a spark igniting in her eyes. A family gathering. Not just to celebrate a wedding, but to heal. To show everyone that we can rise above the hurt. James felt that spark too. A gathering. A way for families to come together, to face hard truths, to finally extinguish the grudges of a bygone era. The image filled him with excitement but was tempered with apprehension. Will they accept us? Is it that easy? He asked, running a hand through his hair as he envisioned old faces filled with uncertainty and pain. Emily squeezed his hand tighter. Nothing worth having comes easy, right? She whispered with a hint of determination. But if we do this together, I believe we can make them see it's worth it. Worth fighting for. The room buzzed with a new kind of electricity. Hope infused the heavy air, but unease lingered around the edges. They were standing on the brink of something monumental, yet doubts gnawed at James's insides. All right, David said, breaking the charged silence. Let us start planning. If we're going to do this, we need to move quickly. There's strength in numbers, and right now, we're all united by this chance. As they spoke, James felt a wave of apprehension wash over him. What if when they shared their plan, old wounds were reopened? Would anger arise in the hearts of their families, threatening to drown this fragile promise of healing? The voice inside him grew quieter as thoughts swirled. Would they truly find closure in the coming storm? Let us take the first step, Emily said, her eyes shining. But we need to understand everything first. We have to know what our grandfathers really intended. James nodded, realizing as he looked at her that the answers lay buried within those yellowed pages. He felt that flicker of excitement paired with dread. Could they truly honor the past while paving a brighter future? As he stood beside Emily gazing at the letters, he knew they were on the cusp of something big. Eliminating the noise was essential if they wanted to hear the echoes of the past. But first, they had to read between the lines. What other secrets were hidden in those pages? What might those letters reveal that could change everything? And would they have the courage to meet those revelations head-on? A chill crept into the room as Emily gently folded the letters back into their original shape, her fingers trembling slightly. There was a weight to those words that demanded their attention, sending her heart racing as she exchanged glances with James. They both understood it was just the beginning of a much larger journey. Do you think they really meant it? She whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. Did our grandfathers truly believe we could fix this? I want to believe that, James replied, feeling the knot in his stomach loosen. Despite the confusion clouding his mind, hope flickered like the flame of a match, waiting for air to breathe life into it. While David continued to discuss logistics, James found himself lost in thought. He always viewed family gatherings as exhausting. Old feuds, awkward conversations, and a mix of uncomfortable silences had been the norm. But this felt different. They were striving for something deeper, something that could close the gaps that had festered for years. A collective anticipation hung in the air as Emily raised her voice. What if we start with a family dinner? Something small, just to ease everyone into the idea? David nodded, visibly impressed with her initiative. That's a great approach. We need to slowly introduce the topic to avoid shock. Too much too soon can be overwhelming. So, where do we begin? James asked, grounding himself in the present before all the shadows of the past took hold of him. I'd say reach out to the family members you trust most, David suggested. They can help spread the word, set the tone. As they began to flesh out their plan, laughter and excited whispers circulated around the gathering. Emily's energy was infectious, rippling through James. They could do this together. They had to do this together. The days that followed felt surreal. Phone calls, group chats, and messages flew back and forth, weaving a new fabric of connection with every exchange. Talks about the gathering transformed from nervous trepidation to laughter over shared memories. Seeds of understanding were being planted, yet, as the date approached, unease gnawed at James. He would catch himself staring at the windows, half expecting a family member's frown or disapproving glance to come shattering through. It wasn't just a dinner, it felt like the skeletons of old regrets were gathering. Emily caught him staring one afternoon, her brow crinkled with concern. What's on your mind? She asked as she sat down next to him. I'm worried about how our families will react. What if they don't want to come together? She took a deep breath, her warm hand resting over his. Remember what we found in those letters? They wanted us to choose unity. It's not just us anymore, it's about the future we can create. We've taken the first step, the rest will unfold. The day of the gathering arrived, and the air was thick with anticipation. A sense of dread nestled deep in James' chest as he glanced around at their decorated backyard. Streamers danced in the gentle breeze, and the scent of barbecue wafted through the air, mingling with nervous laughter. One by one, familiar faces arrived, exchanging greetings while casting uncertain glances toward the others. Tension was palpable yet mixed with curiosity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a hush settled over the crowd. It was time to address the elephant in the room. Before we eat, I want to say something. James felt his throat tighten as he looked out at everyone gathered. When he spoke, his voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Thank you all for being here. We know this isn't easy. "We're here to heal," as he continued. He saw surprise and confusion ripple through the guests. Some exchanged confused whispers, while others appeared touched by the sincerity of the message. Just as he was about to share the contents of the letters, the unmistakable sound of raised voices cut through the air. James froze, heart pounding. The moment felt fragile, as if anything could topple this newfound balance. "Do you hear that?" he exclaimed, panic rising in his chest. "What's happening?" Emily grabbed his arm, her expression a mix of worry and determination. He hardly noticed David stepping forward, his face taut with concern. "We can't let this fall apart," David declared, moving to ease the tension. But as voices grew louder from the back of the gathering, James feared their effort was about to be met with its first test. Could their shared vision withstand the weight of their family's history? Would the gathering devolve into chaos, or would they unite in an unexpected moment of understanding? The questions hung in the air, leaving uncertainty in its wake as they braced themselves for what came next. James felt as if time had stopped. The jubilant atmosphere turned somber as he turned toward the commotion. A grandmother's old feud against her sister was heating up. Voices raised, hands gestured wildly. His heart sank. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Why can't we just let it go? Another voice cut through the crowd, frustration evident. It was Aunt Clara, her hands shaking as she stood up, her eyes darting between family members like a hawk. James could see the fight within her, turmoil brewing. "Because it's never really been resolved. We can't just pretend everything is fine," snapped his Uncle George, his sharp tone sending a ripple of tension through the group. James stepped forward, feeling the weight of responsibility fall squarely on his shoulders. "Can we please just take a moment?" he pleaded, raising his hands to calm them. "We're here for a reason. We owe it to ourselves to try." Emily's grip on his arm tightened. She leaned into him, and he felt her warmth seeping through the emotional chaos. "They have to hear each other," she whispered. "We all do." The crowd went quiet, eyes turning to him, filled with confusion but also a thread of hope. James took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage he had. This isn't just about old grudges. It's about moving forward. About finding a way to heal. Aunt Clara's shoulders slumped a little, her brows furrowing. "You don't understand, James, it's not that easy." "Then help us understand," he urged, a tremor in his voice. "Share what's bothering you." Silence weighed heavily in the air. Slowly, Clara turned to face her sister. "You think it's easy for me to watch you get everything you wanted while I got the scraps? The broken pieces?" "But the sister's voice cracked, her defenses crumbling. "It wasn't intentional exactly." Clara cut her off. "That's the problem. We've been tiptoeing around this for years. When do we stop avoiding it?" "That's what we're trying to do now," Emily stepped in, her eyes bright with understanding. "We're trying to bridge these gaps." Behind them, David shifted, the family elder, his voice softened as he added, "Let the hurt out, and maybe we can start to heal together." And with that, others began to speak, voices trembling with emotions as stories poured out. Resentments, regrets, and misunderstandings spilled like a long-dammed river, the truth rushing forward. James could see their family members slowly opening up. There were tears and laughter, and through the raw moments, something powerful began to emerge, the beginnings of empathy. Just as he thought they were making headway, a sharp laugh broke the flow. It came from the other side of the yard where James's cousin Lydia stood, arms crossed, a smirk plastered across her face. "This is ridiculous. You really think we can fix all this over a meal? Just because of 2 letters?" Her voice sliced through the moment like a knife, eliciting a collective gasp. James felt the anger rise again, but he also sensed the despair behind her words. Untangling complex feelings was a delicate dance, and this felt like a misstep. He opened his mouth, unsure of what to say next. "Maybe not," Emily interjected calmly, standing up. "But it's a start." She turned to Lydia, her eyes softening. You don't have to agree with us, but your presence means something. We're trying to include everyone, even if it's hard. For a moment, the silence enveloped them all again as Lydia's expression shifted, uncertainty flashing across her face. James held his breath, waiting. Would Lydia walk away, or would she let the walls come down? Their legacy hung in the balance, and as hope and doubt swirled together, James knew they were still at the crossroads. What would it take to bring them together in that moment? And would they manage to turn this gathering into a step toward healing, or would they all walk away, haunted by their decisions? The air crackled with tension as Lydia shifted her weight, the smirk fading into something uncertain. James could see the inner battle on her face, the urge to dismiss them clashing with a flicker of curiosity. He could sense it, that moment when a heart cracks just enough for something new to slip in. Lydia opened her mouth as if to say something but hesitated. You really think we can just get over this like it's nothing? No, James said, stepping further into the moment, his voice steady. But we can start by listening. We've all carried these burdens for too long. What if we just took the risk to say what we feel? Aunt Clara nodded, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I don't want to be angry anymore. But I don't know how to let go. The admission hung heavy in the air, a raw honesty that seemed to open a door. James felt the shift, a ripple of hope washing over the group. He glanced at Emily, who gave him an encouraging nod, urging him to keep going. From across the yard, Uncle George spoke up, his voice gravelly. Maybe we've been holding too tightly to our pride. I want to move on. I really do. Then talk to each other, Emily offered, her voice filled with warmth. Share what this has cost you. Share your pain. The crowd stirred, and Lydia looked down, searching for something on the ground. James noticed that as uncomfortable as she was, her resistance was softening. Lydia, Aunt Clara's voice was gentle, like a balm. You have always had a place at this table just like everyone else. Can you share what you feel? Maybe we can understand each other better. For a moment, no one spoke. Lydia took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling as she wrestled with her thoughts. Finally, she lifted her head to meet Clara's gaze. I don't know how to fit in, okay? Her words erupted like a small bombshell, echoing through the group. I feel like I'm on the outside looking in at this family. All the feuding, the awkwardness. I just wanted to belong, to be seen. But every time I thought we were making progress, something pulled us back into this mess. The honesty of her vulnerability created an electric shift. A wave of understanding swept across the group. James could see Aunt Clara relax a little, her own walls cracking under the pressure of Lydia's truth. That's how I felt too, Lydia, Clara admitted quietly, her voice trembling. Like I never mattered, like I was always in the shadow. As emotions swirled around them, each family member began to share their struggles, their fears, painting a vivid picture of what their grievances had cost each person involved. The laughter and tears exploded like confetti, each fragment carrying with it a piece of their collective heart. James's spirit soared. This was what he had hoped for. Then, with unexpected fervor, Aunt Clara spoke up. Why don't we have a family meeting? A real one? We can sit down and write down what we need from each other. No more avoiding. Let us face everything and start fresh. That could work, Lydia exhaled, relief washing over her features. For the first time that day, a flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. Together, James echoed, realizing how much this moment could change everything. But just as they thought they were making progress, a laugh echoed from nearby, the neighbor's child, making light of their serious gathering. It was a dismissive sound that jolted James back to the reality outside their emotionally charged circle. Not everyone understands what we're trying to do, he murmured, glancing at the onlookers. And right then, he knew. Their challenge wasn't just about their own healing. It was about how to extend that understanding beyond the family, to create a community where both joy and pain could be celebrated and shared. Could they truly unite not just as a family but as part of their community? Would they make a change that rippled outwards? James felt a spark of determination rise in him, as the echoes of all those hearts beating together grew louder. This was only the beginning. Lydia felt a knot in her stomach. They were discussing real feelings here, yet the laughter from the neighbor's kid felt like an unwanted intruder. She glanced around, searching the faces of her family. Some were teary, others hopeful, and a few still held skepticism in their expressions. She shook her head, willing herself to be stronger than the doubts creeping back in. "Listen," James said, breaking into her thoughts, "we can't let outside whispers drown out what's happening here." His eyes were fierce, and in that moment, his determination seemed to spread like wildfire. "We're building something, even if it feels fragile right now. We owe this to ourselves." Emily stepped closer to Lydia. "You know," she said softly, "it's okay to feel uneasy. You're stepping into a whole new territory. But this is what family is about, strengthening the bonds, even when it's tough. Maybe we should take what we wrote and talk about it outside with the neighbors," Clara suggested, her voice a little steadier now. "Open the conversation. Show them we're trying." "That's a good idea," George added, his eyes brightening. "Show them that we're a unit, united in our intention to change." Emily cupped Lydia's elbows, steering her back to the moment. "The only way forward is together, Lydia. It starts with you and me right now." Lydia felt tears welling up but held them at bay. "You really think people will care?" "They could just choose to judge," she said, her voice trembling. "We can't control what they think," James replied. "What matters is that we're owning our truth. When we step out there with our hearts on our sleeves, that's when we can invite acceptance." Encouraged by their words, Lydia straightened, clearing her throat. "Okay. If we do this, we do it together." The family assembled in a circle, spirited brainstorming sparked with renewed energy. Each person, fueled by the promise of a shared future, began jotting down the things they wanted: respect, patience, understanding. The ideas poured out, a tide of desires mixing with a healthy dose of anticipation. As they talked, a shift began to happen. People who had always stood at the edges began stepping into the center. Conversations shifted from apprehensions to excitement. Lydia could almost feel the tension melting away, replaced by shared hopes. But just as they were wrapping up their lists, the neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Peterson, strode over, followed by her curious grandchildren. She had an aura of authority and warmth. "What's all this commotion?" she asked, eyes sparkling with mischief. An anxious hush fell over the group. Was this what they had set out for? Being seen by others? We're just talking as a family about how to communicate better," James stammered, taking a step forward. His boldness was palpable, mirrored in the shared glances of his family as they rallied behind him. "Open dialogue, huh?" Mrs. Peterson inspected the lists, knitting her brows. "You know, I could use some of that at my book club. We've been a bit prickly lately." The tension broke. Laughter erupted from the children, and even Aunt Clara smiled. "Maybe you can join us in our conversation, Mrs. Peterson," Emily suggested. "We're trying to gather more voices. Why not invite the whole block?" Mrs. Peterson's eyes twinkled as she grinned. "Let us get this community together." James's heart raced. Could they really include their community in this awakening? Lydia felt a thrill run through her. This was the moment, the catalyst for transformation. As they exchanged ideas with Mrs. Peterson, Lydia found herself captivated by the possibilities blooming around them. The giggles from the kids mingled with serious conversations, stirring something within her. But just as plans were crystallizing, Lydia felt her phone buzz in her pocket. She pulled it out. A notification flashed on the screen, the wedding invitation she had feared she wouldn't receive. The smile faded as reality settled back in. Would they truly make it to that wedding? Or had their healthy changes come too late? Lydia looked back up, her heart racing. With the warmth of an unexpected but strong urge within her, she found herself asking, "So what's next?" Lydia swallowed hard, the wedding invitation still glaring at her like a spotlight. The excitement swirling around her felt distant now. Did everyone else see the looming question she couldn't shake? The fear that their newfound strength might not be enough. Mrs. Peterson looked from Lydia to the others, sensing the strange shift. You seem to have a plan forming here, she said, her warm smile fading into concern. What is going on? You can trust me, darling. I've seen it all. Taking a breath, Lydia stepped forward. We're trying to come together as a family. We want to connect with our neighbors too. But she paused. There is something weighing on my mind. Everything will sort itself out, you know, Mrs. Peterson said gently. She placed a hand over Lydia's. Let us hear it. Lydia exhaled, racing on instinct. You know the wedding at the end of this month? I got an invitation, but I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Emily asked, her brows knitting together. That we won't be the same when we show up. Will they accept who we are now? What if I mess it all up? Her voice shook, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her feet. What are you talking about? George chimed in, genuinely puzzled. You're not the only one who is changing, Lydia. We all are. And maybe the wedding is the perfect opportunity we can show everyone that we're ready to embrace all of it. Clara nodded. I knew planning this family conversation was important. If we can talk to each other, we can talk to them too. At the wedding, we own our truth together. Absolutely. James echoed, clapping his hands together. Why not show them what we've been building? Let us walk in there as a family, shoulders back, proud. It's a celebration of love. We should be proud of our own newly made connections too. Mrs. Peterson nodded enthusiastically. That's the spirit. Your family is the bridge many need. Be the light in a confusing time. Lydia felt a flicker of hope, yet shadows lingered. But what if we aren't ready? What if they still think enough with the what-ifs, James said firmly, his expression softening. This is your chance to lead, Lydia. Change starts with taking that first step. With new conviction blooming inside her, Lydia glanced once more at her phone instead of grimacing at its reminder of her anxieties. Maybe the wedding could be a turning point. She pictured herself walking down the aisle with her family, the warmth of acceptance surrounding them, but just then, another buzz pulled her attention. Instinctively, she followed her heart and opened the notification that it was a message from the groom, Eric. Hi, Lydia. My dad wants to have a quick chat before the wedding. Can you get back to me? Her heart raced again, this time fluttering with a mix of curiosity and dread. Eric's dad? He had always been tough, but maybe this was a good sign. What could he want? Hey, Clara nudged her, glancing at Lydia's vibrant expression. What does it say? I think I might need to talk to Eric's dad, she blurted, still processing the request. James leaned closer. Maybe he's reaching out to smooth things over? It could be your chance to bridge the gap. Lydia bit her lip, weighing the possibilities. The whole block uniting, a wedding looming, and now this call. This wasn't just about her family anymore. It was about the whole community evolving together. She inhaled deeply, her fingers tapping on the phone. I guess I'll call him back. Who knows? Maybe this is the opportunity to change everything. But as she raised the phone to her ear, she felt that familiar knot in her stomach tighten. Could this call lead to something she never expected? Something that would challenge all the fears she had about the wedding? Hey, Eric's dad? It's Lydia, and in that moment, as she began to speak, she wondered if this call was truly the prelude to a greater revelation, one that might shake the very foundation of their family journey. The sun was setting, casting a soft glow over the backyard filled with faces that had once felt so distant. Now, they were drawn together, buzzing with the energy of possibility. Lydia held her breath, her heart pounding as she finished her call with Eric's dad. The conversation had gone surprisingly well, encouraging words filled with warmth and understanding. He wanted to invite the family to dinner before the wedding, an olive branch of sorts. Perhaps this was what they all needed. As she gathered her relatives around, there was a sense of urgency in her voice. Everyone, listen up. I just spoke with Eric's dad, and he wants us all to come over for dinner. It's our chance to connect with them. A murmur of surprise spread through the crowd, eyes wide with disbelief and hope. James stepped forward, an encouraging smile spreading across his face. This is huge. It means they want to engage, to meet us as we are now. Emily, with her chin raised high, nodded enthusiastically. This is the beginning, everyone. An opportunity to break the ice, to show them what we've been working on here. Lydia felt a wave of comfort wash over her. Together, they had faced fears, grown closer in these last few days. As each family member expressed their thoughts on the invitation, emotions surged: the fear, the excitement, the anxiety blended into a collective pulse of hope. Just then, Aunt Clara raised an eyebrow. We're doing this for each other, but we need to be prepared. Some of them might not be as ready as we are. True, George agreed, his voice grave yet steady. They need to know we're not the same family they remember. We've all changed. James added, and we're here to showcase our growth. If we can step into the future with confidence, maybe it will encourage them to join us. The crowd murmured in agreement. Lydia felt a spark ignite within her. This was a chance to lead. Then let's craft our stories. What do we want them to know about us now? About our feelings, our lessons learned? We can show them that we're ready for change. Their voices rose in fervor, sharing laughs and fears, unraveling scars of the past while weaving new threads of unity. Emily, glancing at everyone, proposed, maybe we should prepare some food together for the dinner, like a symbol of unity. Great idea. Clara replied, beaming. Food has the power to bring people together. As they animatedly planned their contributions, Lydia felt warmth spreading through her heart. Their burdens were being lifted. They were creating something beautiful, not just for the dinner, but an entire tapestry of renewal that would reach far beyond them. As the day of the dinner approached, Lydia felt her confidence grow despite a nervous flutter in her stomach. This moment didn't belong to just her, it was theirs. They arrived at Eric's home, the scent of freshly baked bread welcoming them as the door swung open. Eric's dad stood there, arms wide, warm laughter escaping his lips as he took in their presence. Welcome. I'm so glad you all could make it. As smiles greeted them, Lydia felt the cracks of uncertainty start to mend. She stepped inside with Emily by her side. The room felt alive with energy, laughter, chatter, and the clinking of cutlery. The conversations flowed around the table. James and Eric's dad shared stories of old family gatherings, while Aunt Clara exchanged smiles with Eric's mom as the delicious food was served. There was a palpable shift in the air, laughter rang out like a beautiful song. At one point, Lydia's heart raced as Eric's dad raised his glass. To new beginnings, he proclaimed, and everyone clinked glasses in agreement. The warmth and acceptance felt almost surreal. Suddenly, Lydia felt the urge to share. I know our families have faced misunderstandings, she began, her voice steady, but today, we stand here willing to move forward. We believe in each other, and that's what matters. The room fell silent, hanging on her words, filled with her sincerity. From our heart to yours, Emily added with a soft smile, we want to invite you to join us on this journey. Together. Tears brimmed in Mrs. Peterson's eyes, and James squeezed Lydia's shoulder with pride as she spoke. This was their moment, and so, one conversation led to another, old wounds began to heal, stories were exchanged about blessings, laughter, and even struggles. They peeled back layers of hurt, revealing their shared humanity, leading to radiant connections. It was during one poignant exchange, amidst laughter and tears, that Lydia felt it, the groundbreaking transformation of family. They were no longer defined by shadows of the past, they had embraced a brighter, promising future together. As the evening wound down, the warmth in Lydia's heart blossomed. They had entered each other's lives with open hearts. The echo of their laughter reminded them that they were not alone. Returning home, Lydia and James exchanged smiles filled with unspoken understanding. We did it, he said, pride etched in every line of his face. Together, Lydia affirmed, beaming back with tears in her eyes. Now, they were a family, bonded, united, and ready to face whatever lies ahead, even the wedding that awaited them. And as they prepared to step into that new chapter, Lydia held on to hope tighter than ever, stepping forward with courage, a courage that now belonged to them all. If you felt every beat of this journey with us, If you believe in the power of family, connection, and overcoming challenges, now is the moment to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. It matters. Your support helps us create more inspiring content.